Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Mothers of Multifamily, a part of the Multifamily Foundation podcast. I am so super excited for this next guest. We've been sort of like skating around each other. We've never talked before, and it's
Right.
amazing to me that I've never ever talked with Tamiel Kenny before this moment. But here she is live and completely awesome. I'm so excited. Welcome, Tamiel.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Tamiel, if you don't know her, you should. She is an apartment real estate investor, a three-time Amazon best-selling author, mother of two, and the president and co-founder of Think Multifamily. She, along with her husband, Mark, currently own over 5,000 apartment units. Yes, I did not hiccup. I said 5,000 apartment units in 5 states across the US. Tamiel is passionate about apartment investing, and she offers a holistic and family-oriented approach. Bingo, right there. Such a great focus to educating others on how to be successful in this business. She holds investor education conferences multiple times a year to help others learn how they can use apartment investing to provide freedom for themselves and their families. Prior to being a full-time real estate investor, Tamiel was a registered nurse and served on the board of a Christian medical missions charity for over 13 years. She's still actively involved in supporting missions that work with at-risk children and those who have been rescued from sex trafficking. Oh my goodness, Tamiel, you not only help people in real estate, but you are just like a godsend of a woman helping people across the board. So the big question is, how do you do it? How have you done all this amazingness and raised such an amazing family? How do you do it, Tamiel?
One day at a time. This is
Yes.
not always easy, right?
No.
Yeah, just trying to find balance in anything. It's not you found balance and okay, you're good for the rest of your life. It's constantly balancing and constantly trying to rediscover what your values are, what's most important to you, and trying to move things around to make your actions line up with what you say is most important.
Yes, yes, all of the above. Oh my goodness. So one day at a time, did you just wake up and figure that out, or was it like a growth process?
Oh my gosh, it's so much of a growth process because I'm I've always been a kind of person who wants to help somebody else. I've never really wanted to be in the forefront or on stage. And um, granted, when I was younger, I did like attention. But as far as being responsible for being on stage, I was always a better assistant. How can I help you? How can I serve you? What can I do for you today? Um, but as far as accomplishing anything significant, I really never had those goals in mind, right? Of course, I've always wanted to have kids, but never thought of myself as being a business owner or being intelligent for that sake, or a confident woman, which I did not actually get until I was in my 40s. Did not come easy at all. Went through a lot of pain and struggle to get to where I am today and who I am today. So it really is one day at a time, going through one situation at a time, trying to find the best um, part of that situation you're in and just making it work for you and not against you.
So what kind of advice can you give to women out there, mothers especially, who, I mean, we all have our own stories. You obviously have one. Can you share a bit of it, like some of the struggle that you've gone through to push through, and now you have an empire, Tamiel?
Sure.
What?
Okay. So struggle number one, since we're mothers, most of us are married, is, marital issues, right? You live in the same house with this guy for so many years. I've been married almost 25 years. And I will often tell people the first 20 years kind of sucked. And they kind of sucked because neither one of us knew how to communicate. With any relationship you have, whether it's a girlfriend or a business partner or a marriage, you have to learn how to communicate and communicate in a way that the other person understands without belittling, without thinking your mindset is the right one. without thinking your skill set is the best skill set and the other person's beneath you. These are all things that my husband, Mark, and I have had to work through significantly in the last several years. And it took us until almost getting divorced a couple of times before we were able to start working through those issues. Now we have a freaking awesome marriage because we can communicate and we can sense when things may or may not be right, and when we're creating more distance because of work or kids or life, right? So we have found a way to see the imbalance, start working on that, and create balance again. So that's saved us.
So how, like, for a woman that's going through that, say she's having trouble with her partner, how do you open up those lines of communication when, I mean, you know, when you're not feeling right with your husband, it's getting through that mental block almost to communicate. How do you do that?
It's tricky because both partners have to want something better, and they both have to understand that there's an issue, whether both people feel it or not. If one person feels it, then there's an issue. So we went and saw a marriage counselor. She's actually a marriage counselor, a family counselor. We've taken the kids there, and she's simply just helped them to learn how to communicate and understand each other. She's a freaking rock star of counselors. So, and sorry, for a man to actually really talk up this female counselor, you would think, hey, we're going to a female counselor, maybe she's going to take more of the female side, but she didn't. She called us out, both of us, being able to read us and see what needed to come out. So if you can't communicate well with each other, you kind of do need a third party, somebody from the outside looking in, to start calling you out, like, hey, well, why are you doing this? Or why aren't you doing this? Or why does she cry every time she tries to tell you how she's feeling? There's a problem there. And I used to cry a whole lot because I was always afraid to say what I thought, because Mark is so good with his words and he's so smart and he just thinks differently than I do. Understanding that, men and women, if we understand that we each think differently, we each communicate differently, and learn to work that helped a whole lot.
Wow. That, like, just the gold mine that you gave right there is huge for anyone. I mean, I was going through the same thing, not a few years back, just with a completely different relationship. I just couldn't speak my mind, and I was crying all the time. I just didn't know how to speak. And it's either you start communicating, or it just blows up and goes in, like, it's the negative. Divorce happens, separation happens.
For sure.
So it sounds like you and Mark took the high road. And for any mothers, any women listening out there, take Tamiel's advice. If you need to, seek counseling. And let's talk a little bit about that. It's like, you are also a mentor. You also have an educational platform.
Right.
And speak a little bit about your platform and how you help people with the mindset of family first.
Yeah, so we teach people how to invest in apartment buildings, either passively or how to go out and buy them in a group setting. So we call our coaching program the Family Syndication Group, because we work together as a family to take down these big apartment deals. Nobody has to do it alone. Nobody has to walk through life alone. We have people out there that we just need to connect with, find their value, find what we're good at, and learn to work together as a family to make things happen. So Mark and I have different roles in our company. Right now, he's pretty much the only coach. We do have like other students in the group that we've raised up to be kind of like big brothers, like a family would be, where some of the, newer or younger siblings might feel more comfortable talking to a big brother about questions maybe they feel is stupid and they don't want to waste the mom and dad's time. So we're creating this real full family structure in our group, and I love it. And I'm trying to create more of a close-knit community. So I want to start talking to our big brothers and teaching them how to communicate with the other members so that it's kind of like no family member left behind. Nice. You know how easy it is to kind of be a part of a group and feel like, hey, if nobody's reaching out to me, maybe they don't care.
Yes.
Mark's mindset is, hey, everybody get off your butt. I'm providing you the tools. You just do it. And when you have a question, come to me. Not everybody's like that. I'm not like that. If I have a personal trainer who's not checking in with me to see how I'm doing, I think he doesn't care. Next. So we need to learn to work together, Mark and myself, with all of our members to help them where they're at, not necessarily coddle them and hold their hands in every step, because they still have to do the work. We all have to do the work in our relationships and in our business to make things happen, to make things, if you want something different in life or in business, you have to do something different, but that calls for action. So that's kind of how we're growing our group to be more family centric. And we are family values. So we do encourage people to try to bring their spouse along on this journey with them. The business is mostly men. There aren't as many women. So we're really trying to help, for example, our husbands, to bring the women to the meetings, to the conferences. It's not just a sterile conference. They're going to network. They're going to meet some of the other women and the wives in the group. They don't necessarily have to understand the business fully, but if they can get involved, even just networking with their husbands, or the husbands come along with the wives who are doing the business and just be there together as a unit, you will be freaking rock stars in this business, because everybody has to be on the same page in your marriage. So whether it's your investing decisions, where you live, how you raise your kids, all these things are things that we have to learn how to work together and understand. Now, Mark was in IT before real estate investing, and he worked probably 80 to 100 hours a week most of our marriage, which was another complication for us, right? But I don't understand his IT stuff. Most of the time, after about a minute, it would go like this, and I would shut out. I might be, okay, but have no idea, even when we went to networking events, what you were talking about. So I didn't really enjoy that environment, but love real estate. Most people interact with real estate to some degree. You live in an apartment, you live in a house, you have some understanding of it. Now, you might not understand terminology, but doing the business together, the more you go to a networking event, the more you're going to pick up one new word. That's all you have to think about, is just learn one new name or one new term, and then each conversation you'll pick up more and more. It is truly just like learning a new language, one day at a time, one step at a time, one word at a time.
Well, back to that one day at a time. I mean, that seems to be key in this. But actually, before I go on that note, and excuse me, I love tangents. I actually want to go back to what you were saying about husbands, because I've had husbands approach me and they're like, how did Jason get you into this? And I was like, well, we kind of got each other into this, number one. Number two, like, it's all about communication. Like, we talked about it. We talked about the next steps of our lives together. The choices that we make are our responsibility, right? So what would you say? Because I know there's some husbands, some partners out there that are going to be listening to this, either the man or the wife, whoever is in real estate right now.
Yeah.
How do you get them to talk with their partners about real estate and get them in like they want to?
Right. I would suggest starting off by taking them to a purely social real estate investing event, a meetup that is just there for networking, not necessarily the talk, because they might be overwhelmed with that. There's always, this time of year in particular, there's Christmas parties and everything people are throwing with free food and free drinks, and it's the easiest time to start meeting people in the industry. And Mark and I were not very good networkers when we started this. We were quite bad, and we didn't want to go to the meetups, but we would kind of encourage each other, like having an accountability partner, like, we know we need to, this was our goal, we agreed on it together, let's just go. And when we would get there, it'd be like, okay, who's going to make the first move, and who are you going to talk to? And then he'd push me to go talk to them. And so it really, like, it's like one day at a time. It's one thing, one activity at a time. So if you have a introverted spouse, they don't really have to be extroverted. They don't have to know the business. I learned in my very first real estate investing conference I attended, during the breaks, when I start shaking, like, oh my gosh, what do I need to know? What are they going to expect me to say? Because I didn't know what I knew and didn't know at that time. people just want to get to know you. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, be proud of it and talk about who you are and what you're passionate about. And the other people will do the same. They'll talk about who they are and what they're passionate about. Conversations during breaks and networking events aren't always about the business. Sometimes if they're excited about a deal they're doing, sure. But even when I get together, even recently, 5 or 6 of us ladies that live local to Dallas are starting to get together on a regular basis. And even though we're all in the business, most of us are just talking about life. It's kids and jobs and schedules and maybe a little bit of husbands, but we're keeping it good. All positive and uplifting,
Positive, right?
Right? But it's just people want to be in community and relationships with other people who have something in common. And you go to a networking event and you're going to find something in common with that somebody in the room outside of the business. So that's what I just encourage you to do, to try to get your spouse involved, is find something or another couple or somebody near you that you can somehow make that soft connection to. And then when they start feeling comfortable with 1 or 2 people or 1 or 2 situations, then maybe introduce them to another idea of how you might be able to do it together. Now, if a woman is a stay-at-home mom and she's got 4 kids and maybe she's even doing a little work on the side, even the thought of picking up something else in addition to her already busy schedule is tricky, right? But it's also tricky when a man is working 50, 60 hours a week, also wanting to try to do this business and invest on the side. If you want something better in life, something else maybe less valuable needs to give in order to get you to that next level. So whether it's less TV time, maybe it's less fictional novel reading time, all those things you might enjoy when the kids are napping or on your holiday, maybe you pick up, the 4-Hour Work Week or one of those other books that people like to read now about just mindset, right? What are your goals? What's your mindset? What are you trying to get better at in life? That would be my suggestion.
That so many golden words of wisdom there. Basically what Tamiel just says, make those connections. If you're trying to get yourself out there, get your spouse out there, ask them to make connections and use your story. Your story is your big selling point. We all have a story. People want to connect with your story. And find the community and make those relationships. And as you're building, as you're learning, other things in your life have to give. And I completely focus in on this because this is exactly what Jason and I are working on. We're getting rid of those non-important things in our life to fill it with more important things, like learning more about the business on a constant basis, because it's always evolving.
Right.
So before I let you go, I want to ask you one more question. For a mother or a woman who's just starting out, just taking her first steps, what's some advice? Like if you had to give her one actionable step, what would it be?
Read something. To me, that's the easiest thing to do. Read a book if you enjoy reading, or if you don't have time and you have commute time, find at least one podcast you like listening to during your commute so that you can fill yourself with knowledge. The more you hear, like I said earlier, the more you hear the terminology, the more you see it, the more you're going to get comfortable with that concept, with that industry, the more you're going to feel comfortable in networking, perhaps with your husband if he is the lead on this. I think that's the easiest way to get started.
Fantastic. And how can people get in contact with you?
They can reach me by Tami, my email, Tami, Tami, at think, like THINK, like you're thinking about something, Tami at thinkmultifamily.com.
Very easy. Tami, Tami, think as in thinking, multifamily.com. Well, Tamiel,
Right.
thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so grateful. And for any of the mothers out there that are listening and you want to get a hold of Tamiel, please contact her and have an amazing day. I'm so grateful. Bye now.
Bye. Thank you.